The first snow of winter still clung to the pines when the sound of tires crunching over frozen gravel echoed through the valley. Sheriff's lights painted the trees red and blue, their reflection shimmering on the icy river. At the end of my driveway, 3 squad cars sat idling, exhaust curling into the cold air like smoke from an approaching storm. And there she was, fur-lined parka, manicured hands clutching a clipboard, the self-appointed queen of the valley's HOA. She'd called the cops to have my cabin condemned. What she didn't know was that she was standing on land I owned, every single acre of it. And I was about to turn her world upside down. The Whispering Pines Valley had been my refuge for decades. 5,000 acres of untouched forest, split by a ribbon of river, dotted with cabins older than the highway that ran past them. My family had bought the land during the Great Depression, back when a handshake could seal a deal and neighbors actually helped each other survive the winters. For years, the valley was a sanctuary for fishermen, hikers, and retirees who preferred wood smoke and solitude over manicured lawns and HOA rules. But then came the resort development. Big money rolled in, carving golf courses out of wild meadows, replacing century-old cabins with luxury chalets. Alongside came the inevitable, an HOA with bylaws thicker than the county phone book and an army of clipboard warriors ready to enforce them. Leading this suburban invasion was Linda Carver, 52, never married, always dressed like she was heading to a ski photo shoot. She'd moved in 6 months ago, immediately declaring that our rustic valley needed order. Translation: anyone without a wine cellar and matching Adirondack chairs was a problem to be solved. The cabin she had targeted wasn't just any cabin. It was my grandfather's, hand-built in 1934, every beam cut from trees felled right there on the property. The place smelled like cedar and wood smoke, the walls lined with maps, fishing poles, and 3 generations of memories. Linda saw it as an eyesore. I saw it as sacred ground. Linda's reign began with letters, printed on heavy cream stationery, signed in looping script. First came reminders about valley-wide appearance standards, then warnings about non-conforming structures. But she escalated fast. Within weeks, she was ordering residents to repaint cabins in approved alpine tones and threatening fines for storing firewood in view of the road. The old-timers laughed at first. Then came the citations. And the liens. Linda had never dealt with me. My name is Daniel Ashford, and my legal title isn't just owner of this cabin. According to the county recorder's office, I own all of Whispering Pines Valley. The cabins? They're leased plots. The HOA? A tenant, not a ruler. Which meant every rule Linda enforced on my land was nothing but hot air. She didn't know that, not yet. And she picked the wrong day to make her move. I'd just returned from a 2-week hunting trip, still smelling of campfire and pine, when I found the sheriff's trucks parked like sentries at my gate. Linda stood in front of them, waving her clipboard like a royal decree. "This property is unsafe," she announced for all to hear. "It violates multiple HOA safety codes. We're shutting it down today." I said nothing, just unlocked the cabin, the wood door creaking like it always had, and invited the deputies inside. The trap was already set. The sheriff's deputies were polite but cautious. They'd been told the place had faulty wiring, structural instability, and unlicensed renovations. Linda hovered behind them, eyes darting like she was about to witness a crime scene unfold. What she saw instead was the original county safety inspection certificate, signed, dated, and prominently framed above the fireplace. I handed the deputies copies of my most recent fire safety and building compliance reports, all cleared without a single infraction. Her face tightened. That's when I dropped the first hammer. "Sheriff, before you proceed, I think you should know, this cabin sits on private land owned entirely by me. Not the HOA, not the resort. Me. And here's the county plat map to prove it." One deputy studied the document, brow furrowing. "You own all of this?" "Every acre," I confirmed. "The HOA leases land from me under a contract that prohibits them from enforcing structural codes without my consent, which they never obtained." Linda's jaw worked like she was chewing glass. That's when I revealed hammer number 2. A notarized notice revoking the HOA's right to operate on my property effective immediately. Every fine they'd issued on valley land. Void. Every lien. Illegal. The deputies exchanged glances. The legal weight of what I'd just handed them was sinking in. Still, Linda wasn't done. She accused me of endangering the community with outdated structures and reckless independence. That's when I decided to stop playing defense. I pulled a second folder from my desk, photographs, receipts, and sworn affidavits from residents she'd harassed since moving in. Fines for leaving sleds outside. Threats over Christmas lights. Even one citation for unauthorized fire pit marshmallow roasting. The sheriff's expression shifted from neutrality to quiet disgust. "Ma'am," he said, "I suggest you leave before I start writing this up as harassment." Linda stormed out, but not before hissing, "This isn't over." She was right. It wasn't. But the ending wouldn't be hers to write. Over the next week, I met with every Valley resident she'd targeted. Turns out Linda had been quietly building a case to replace every cabin over 50 years old, claiming they lowered property values for the resort homes. She'd already pressured 3 families into selling below market value. What she didn't know was that, buried in the original 1930 deed, there was a covenant protecting historic structures from forced removal. Violated, and ownership of all leased plots reverted to the landowner, me. I hired a legal team from Denver. Together, we compiled a thick dossier of her violations: abuse of authority, fraudulent liens, intimidation, and breach of lease terms. 2 weeks later, a formal notice went out to every HOA member. The Whispering Pines HOA was dissolved for cause. All governance reverted to direct agreements between tenants and me. No more petty fines. No more aesthetic policing. Linda lost her title overnight. But her downfall wasn't complete. A financial audit revealed she'd used HOA funds to pay for administrative expenses, including ski trips, spa weekends, and luxury home decor. That was embezzlement. And in Colorado, embezzlement over $100,000 meant prison time. By spring, she was facing criminal charges. The same sheriff she'd brought to my cabin escorted her out of her chalet in handcuffs. The image made the front page of the county paper. The courtroom was packed the day Linda stood trial. Former HOA members filled the benches, whispering as the prosecutor laid out the evidence: falsified safety reports, unauthorized liens, misuse of funds, and willful violation of property contracts. I sat in the back, letting the facts do the work. The prosecution played video of her boasting at a resort mixer about cleaning up the valley. They showed bank statements, receipts, and the original land lease agreement she'd ignored. Her defense crumbled faster than the snow melt in April. The verdict was unanimous: guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 6 years in state prison and ordered full restitution to the HOA members, restitution that would be drawn from the sale of her chalet, her SUV, and every asset she'd bought with stolen funds. When the gavel fell, the valley exhaled. Today, Whispering Pines Valley is free of HOA interference. The cabins stand just as they have for generations, smoke curling from chimneys against the winter sky. The river runs clear, the meadows bloom untouched, and neighbors greet each other without the shadow of fines or citations hanging overhead. I've established a community trust to manage the land, ensuring no future HOA can touch it. Leases are simple: respect the land, respect your neighbors, and keep the history alive. Linda? She's still in prison. Word is, she's learning what it's like to live under rules she didn't write. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't just winning the fight. It's making sure no one ever has to fight it again.